Let me start by asking you something. Have you ever had a moment so real, so vivid, that it felt like the universe or something far greater was trying to tell you something? I had one of those moments, and it didn't come through a conversation, a sermon, or a headline. It came through a dream that shook me, stopped me, and made me question everything I thought I understood about the world we're living in today. Because in that dream, I wasn't just shown an image. I was given a warning about the thing almost all of us are addicted to, the thing that steals our time, our confidence, our peace, and we don't even realize it. It was a message about social media, its power, its danger, and the silent way it shapes our lives every single day. And when I shared this experience, I had a conversation that changed everything, a conversation with someone whose wisdom comes not from noise, but from a lifetime of seeing truth through clarity. What he told me confirmed the message of that dream in a way I could never ignore. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, distracted, pressured, or lost in today's digital world, then what I'm about to share with you is not just a story, it's a mirror, it's a wake-up call, it's a chance to reclaim the part of you that life online has been slowly taking away. Stay with me till the end, because the message inside this speech might be exactly what your spirit has been waiting to hear. The idea of a dream acting as a wake-up call carries a deeper meaning than simply being a moment of imagination during sleep. When a dream feels vivid, intense, or carries a message, it often reflects something our spirit, mind, or conscience has been trying to tell us for a long time, but we were too distracted to notice. In the context of this topic, the dream serves as a spiritual alarm clock, breaking through the constant noise of daily scrolling, notifications, and digital pressure. It becomes a moment of clarity, showing that many people today are drifting through life without realizing how much control social media has quietly taken over their thoughts, emotions, and priorities. The dream suggests that the endless cycle of consumption, watching others, comparing ourselves, reacting to content, slowly disconnects us from our true identity and deeper purpose. It highlights how easy it is to lose direction when surrounded by digital illusions that shape how we think, what we believe, and even how we value ourselves. The dream warns that this constant engagement can numb the mind, weaken focus, and pull people away from meaningful goals. Instead of growing, learning, or creating, people end up passively absorbing content for hours without noticing how much time and energy slips away. The message inside the dream is a call to pause, reflect, and reclaim awareness. It urges us to examine the influence social media holds over our decisions and self-worth, and to recognize the need for intentional control rather than unconscious consumption. It's not telling us to abandon technology, but to awaken to the reality that we must decide who's in charge, our purpose or the platform. The idea of truth versus illusion highlights one of the biggest struggles created by social media today. Most of what we see online is not reality. It is a carefully crafted version of life designed to look perfect, successful, or dramatic enough to get attention. People choose the best angles, the happiest moments, the most expensive purchases, and the most glamorous experiences, while hiding their struggles, failures, insecurities, and ordinary days. This creates a powerful illusion that everyone else is living a better, happier, or more successful life. When people constantly consume these polished images, they begin to question their own progress, their own worth, and their own life path. The truth is much simpler. No one's life looks like their feed. Behind every smile can be stress, behind every luxury photo can be debt, and behind every inspirational quote can be a person still fighting their own battles. But social media blurs this truth, making illusions feel real. This distortion leads to pressure, comparison, and silent frustration as people feel they are falling behind in a race that doesn't even exist. The keynote points to this hidden psychological trap. It warns that constant exposure to curated illusions can weaken self-esteem, shift priorities, and push people into chasing an artificial version of life. Instead of focusing on personal growth, authentic happiness, and real relationships, people may start seeking approval, validation, or an image that matches what they see online. Recognizing the difference between truth and illusion is essential because it restores mental clarity. It helps us remember that real life is messy, imperfect, and beautiful in ways that cannot be captured through filters. It encourages us to value honesty over appearances and to measure ourselves by our own journey rather than by digital illusions. The idea of spiritual distraction focuses on how easily modern life, especially through social media, pulls people away from their inner purpose, their faith, and their sense of grounding. In earlier times, moments of silence and reflection were naturally built into daily life. People had time to think, breathe, pray, and simply be present. Today, the constant presence of screens has replaced those quiet moments with noise. Instead of turning inward for strength, guidance, or clarity, many turn to endless scrolling for entertainment or escape. This shift may seem harmless, but it slowly disconnects people from what truly matters. When someone wakes up and checks their phone before they check on their own mindset, when they spend more time consuming content than listening to their own thoughts, they begin to lose alignment with their deeper purpose. The spirit becomes crowded with distractions, leaving little space for growth or self-awareness. Over time, this creates a subtle but powerful emptiness, a sense of being busy but not fulfilled. The constant flow of information, opinions, trends, and alerts keeps the mind reactive instead of reflective. It becomes harder to hear intuition, harder to understand one's calling, and harder to feel connected to faith. The keynote points out that this distraction doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually. A few minutes of scrolling turn into hours, and the hours turn into habits that reshape priorities. Spiritual health requires mindfulness, intention, and quiet moments, but those moments disappear when every free second is filled with digital noise. The Dreams Warning is essentially a reminder to reclaim stillness. It encourages people to pause long enough to reconnect with their values, to make space for reflection, and to ensure that their spiritual direction is not drowned out by the endless distractions of the online world. The danger of validation addiction refers to the growing dependence people develop on likes, comments, shares, and digital approval to feel good about themselves. This addiction is subtle because it doesn't arrive like a sudden crisis. It develops quietly through repeated habits. Each time someone posts something and receives likes, the brain releases a small amount of dopamine, creating a temporary sense of pleasure and worth. Over time, the mind begins to crave that feeling, pushing people to seek more attention, more reactions, and more external confirmation of their value. The problem is that this form of validation is fragile and temporary. It does not build confidence, it replaces it. Instead of knowing who they are, people start relying on the approval of others to tell them who they should be. This leads to anxiety, comparison, and even insecurity when the expected attention doesn't arrive. Posts that don't perform well make people question their attractiveness, their talent, or their importance, even though these judgments are based on algorithms, timing, and the unpredictable behavior of online audiences. This shift affects behavior in powerful ways. People start posting not to express themselves, but to impress others. They begin editing their personality, shaping their appearance, and adjusting their opinions to fit what they believe will get the most engagement. Real emotions get hidden, and authenticity becomes filtered away. Relationships suffer because people focus more on being seen than on genuinely connecting. The addiction grows stronger as the digital world rewards exaggerated emotions, controversial opinions, or unrealistic lifestyles. The keynote highlights that this constant chase for validation steals self-respect and genuine confidence. It leaves individuals dependent on a cycle that never gives lasting satisfaction. Recognizing this danger is the first step toward reclaiming self-worth from a place of inner strength rather than from digital applause. The idea of using platforms for purpose emphasizes that social media itself is not the enemy. The true challenge lies in how people choose to use it. These platforms hold incredible power. They can spread positivity or negativity, truth or confusion, encouragement or pressure. The keynote suggests that instead of allowing social media to shape our identity or drain our time, we should approach it with intentionality. Many people use these apps without thinking, scrolling for hours, absorbing random content, and reacting to emotions they didn't choose. But when someone decides to use social media with purpose, the entire dynamic changes. Instead of being controlled by trends, they become a source of value. Instead of consuming endlessly, they contribute meaningfully. Posting with purpose means sharing experiences that inspire others, sending messages that uplift someone's day, spreading knowledge that helps people grow, or even expressing creativity in ways that bring light to someone else's life. It also means setting boundaries, knowing when to disconnect, and choosing content that feeds the mind instead of draining the spirit. Purposeful use recognizes that influence is a responsibility. Every post, comment, or story affects someone. When people become intentional, they begin to shape their digital environment rather than letting it shape them. This shift also protects mental and emotional well-being because actions rooted in purpose are guided by clarity rather than comparison or insecurity. The keynote reminds us that platforms can amplify our voice, values, and vision if we use them wisely. It encourages using social media as a tool to build community, strengthen faith, motivate others, and express truth instead of chasing trends or validation. When used with purpose, social media becomes a space for impact rather than distraction, turning digital presence into something meaningful rather than something draining. The wisdom shared by Clint Eastwood in this context reflects the kind of clarity that comes from a lifetime of observing how people change when the world around them becomes louder and more distracting. His message points toward a deeper truth. Strength is not found in noise, attention, or popularity, but in discipline, self-awareness, and the ability to stay grounded when everything around you is pulling you in different directions. In a world driven by digital trends and constant online activity, many people confuse visibility with value. They assume that being seen often means being important, but the wisdom here reminds us that real importance comes from who you are when nobody is watching. Social media rewards quick reactions, emotional outbursts, and extreme opinions, but true strength requires patience, restraint, and the courage to stand by your principles even when it's not popular. This keynote highlights the idea that modern digital life has made it easier for people to lose connection with their own voice. With endless opinions, judgments, and comparisons flooding the mind, a person can forget what they believe, what they want, and what truly matters. The wisdom shared urges people to step back, slow down, and rediscover the clarity that comes only when distractions are removed. Discipline becomes the foundation for this clarity. It means choosing what deserves your attention, controlling impulses, and focusing on long-term purpose rather than short-term reactions. Strength also grows from consistency, from staying true to your values even when the world is shouting something different. This keynote essentially teaches that while the digital world may push people to chase noise, real power comes from living with intention. It encourages people to reclaim their identity, think independently, and build a life shaped by purpose rather than digital influence. The message behind this entire journey is simple but deeply important. In a world overflowing with distractions, illusions, and noise, the real battle is not on our screens, but within our own hearts and minds. The dream served as a wake-up call, reminding us that if we're not intentional, social media can slowly pull us away from who we're meant to be. It can distort our confidence, steal our focus, and weaken our connection to purpose. But it can also be a tool for good when used wisely. The real challenge is choosing clarity over confusion, truth over illusion, and purpose over distraction. The wisdom shared reminds us that strength doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being centered. It comes from knowing your values, protecting your peace, and staying connected to the truth that guides you. If you can do that, then no algorithm, no trend, and no digital noise will ever be strong enough to pull you off your path. You have the power to rise above the noise, to live with intention, and to use your voice in a way that leaves the world slightly better than you found it. That is the real message, and that is the real calling. Good luck on your journey ahead. Thank you for listening. Thank you for growing, and thank you for choosing to become better than you were yesterday. May clarity guide you, strength protect you, and purpose lead you every step of the way.